Hey everyone, I'm Mark, and let's face it, the internet is awash in conspiracy theories. From shadowy cabals controlling the world to elaborate hoaxes about historical events, it seems like there's a theory for everything. These narratives can be captivating, offering simple explanations for complex events. But as we know, the truth is often far more nuanced. Welcome to our guide on critically analyzing conspiracy theories. Today, we'll walk you through a structured approach to dissecting these claims, arming you with the tools to separate fact from fiction. We'll explore common logical fallacies, delve into source evaluation, and emphasize the importance of evidence-based reasoning. Remember, critical thinking is our best defense against misinformation. By approaching these theories with a healthy dose of skepticism and a commitment to evidence, we can navigate the information landscape more effectively. So let's dive in and equip ourselves with the tools to challenge those outlandish claims. Before we can even begin to address a conspiracy theory, we need to understand exactly what it is we're dealing with. It's like trying to solve a mystery without knowing the crime. So, our first step is to define the conspiracy theory clearly. What is the central claim of the theory? Who are the supposed key players, the masterminds behind the curtain? And perhaps most importantly, what is their alleged agenda? Is it power, control, wealth, or something even more sinister? Next, we need to break down the theory into its key components. Think of it like dissecting a frog in biology class. Except instead of scalpels and formaldehyde, we're using logic and critical thinking. Look for the main pieces of evidence or reasoning presented. Is there a supposed timeline of events, a sequence of occurrences that supposedly proves the theory true? Often, these timelines are riddled with inconsistencies and leaps in logic. Don't worry, we'll get to those. The key here is to approach the theory with a curious but discerning mind. Don't accept anything at face value. Instead, let's treat the theory as a puzzle to be solved, carefully examining each piece before we try to fit them together. Now that we have a grasp of the conspiracy theory itself, it's time to play a bit of detective and investigate the source. Just like in a courtroom, where the credibility of a witness is paramount, the origin of a conspiracy theory can tell us a lot about its validity. First and foremost, ask yourself, is this source reliable? Is it a reputable news organization known for its journalistic integrity, or is it a website with a penchant for the outlandish and unverified? Does the source have a history of bias, leaning towards a particular ideology or agenda that might color its reporting? Transparency is another crucial factor to consider. Are the sources of information clearly named and verifiable? Can you trace the claims back to their original context, or do they disappear down a rabbit hole of anonymous forums and whispers in the dark corners of the internet? Remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If a source has a history of promoting sensationalized or unsubstantiated information, it's wise to approach their claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. Think of it this way. If someone with a history of lying told you the sky was green, wouldn't you be inclined to double-check? So, we've examined the claim, checked out the source, and now it's time to roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty with the logic of the conspiracy theory itself. This is where we put on our critical thinking caps and ask ourselves, does this theory actually hold water, or is it built on a foundation of faulty reasoning and logical fallacies? One common pitfall in conspiracy theories is the reliance on leaps of logic. These are like those giant, improbable chasms in Indiana Jones movies. Except instead of swinging across with a whip and a prayer, the theory just expects us to blindly accept these jumps in reasoning. Another red flag to watch out for is circular reasoning. This is when the theory uses its own conclusion as evidence, like a dog chasing its own tail, going round and round without actually proving anything. And let's not forget about appeals to emotion, where the theory tries to bypass logic altogether and tug at our heartstrings or stoke our fears. Remember, just because something evokes a strong emotional response doesn't mean it's true. Keep an eye out for common fallacies, like the post hoc fallacy, which assumes that because B happened after A, then A must have caused B. Just because you found a four-leaf clover before winning the lottery doesn't mean the clover was lucky. All right, we've waded through the murky waters of claims, sources, and logic, and now we've arrived at the heart of the matter, the evidence. Every good detective knows that evidence is king, and when it comes to examining conspiracy theories, we need to channel our inner Sherlock Holmes. The first order of business is to verify the facts. Does the theory rely on credible evidence, or is it built on a foundation of hearsay, speculation, and blurry photos of Bigfoot? Are the sources of evidence documented and peer-reviewed, or are they anecdotal whispers passed around a digital campfire? Don't just take the theory's word for it. Cross-reference the information with independent sources. Have reputable news organizations, scientific bodies, or experts in relevant fields address the claims. And if so, what are their findings? Remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If the evidence presented is flimsy, contradictory, or based on dubious sources, it's a major red flag that the theory might be best filed under fiction rather than fact. So, we've dissected the conspiracy theory, scrutinized the source, analyzed the logic, and examined the evidence. Now it's time to put on our thinking caps and explore alternative explanations. Because often, the simplest explanation is the best one. This is where Occam's razor comes in handy. This principle states that, given competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions is usually the most likely. In other words, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras on roller skates. Conspiracy theories often rely on complex, convoluted narratives involving secret societies, government cover-ups, and elaborate schemes. But what if there's a simpler, more plausible explanation that fits the available evidence? Let's not forget about established facts. Does the conspiracy theory contradict widely accepted historical accounts, scientific consensus, or basic principles of logic and reason? If so, it's worth considering whether the theory is truly plausible or if it requires us to suspend disbelief and embrace a narrative that defies common sense. In the world of conspiracy theories, it's not just about what is claimed, but also about why. Who stands to gain from spreading this particular narrative? To understand a conspiracy theory fully, we need to follow the money, the power, or the ideology. Every story has a narrator, and often that narrator has an agenda. So let's put on our detective hats and ask, who benefits from promoting this theory? Is it a group with a vested interest in discrediting a particular individual, organization, or even an entire system? Sometimes the motivation is financial. Perhaps someone is peddling a book, a documentary, or a product based on the theory's claims. Other times, the motivation is ideological. The theory might align with a particular worldview or political stance, serving as a tool to demonize opponents or sow distrust in established institutions. Remember, understanding the motivations behind the spread of a conspiracy theory can shed light on its credibility. It's like realizing the wizard behind the curtain is just a guy with smoke and mirrors. Have you ever tried arguing with someone who uses your own arguments as proof that you're wrong? Frustrating, right? Well, that's self-sealing logic in a nutshell, and it's a favorite tool in the conspiracy theorist's arsenal. Self-sealing logic is a sneaky tactic where any evidence against the theory is twisted into further proof of its validity. It's a closed loop of reasoning, impervious to outside information or contradictory evidence. For instance, if you point out flaws in the evidence, you're told you're part of the cover-up. If you cite credible sources that challenge the theory, you're accused of being a sheep controlled by the mainstream media. It's a classic heads I win, tails you lose scenario. This type of logic makes it nearly impossible to have a rational discussion, as any attempt to introduce counter-arguments is met with accusations and claims that only strengthen the believer's convictions. It's like trying to reason with a brick wall that has learned to talk back. Conspiracy theories don't exist in a vacuum. They can have a real-world impact, influencing individual beliefs, shaping public discourse, and even inciting violence. So it's crucial to consider the social and psychological consequences of these beliefs. Ask yourself, how does this theory affect those who believe it? Does it create fear, mistrust, or paranoia? Does it lead to social isolation, as believers withdraw from those who don't share their worldview? Conspiracy theories often prey on our insecurities and anxieties, offering a sense of control in a world that can feel chaotic and unpredictable. They provide simple explanations for complex events, assigning blame to shadowy figures and sinister forces. However, this sense of control comes at a cost. It can erode trust in established institutions, fuel social divisions, and hinder our ability to address real-world problems. By understanding the potential harm of these beliefs, we can better equip ourselves to counter their spread and mitigate their negative effects. Our brains are wired to seek patterns and find meaning, even in random events. This tendency, while helpful in many situations, can also make us susceptible to believing in conspiracy theories. We tend to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. When we encounter information that aligns with our preconceived notions, we're more likely to accept it without question. Conversely, we tend to dismiss or downplay information that contradicts our beliefs, even if it's backed by credible evidence. Another cognitive bias at play is cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we experience when holding conflicting beliefs. To alleviate this discomfort, we might cling to conspiracy theories that align with our worldview, even if they contradict logic and evidence. By understanding these cognitive biases, we can become more aware of our own thought processes and develop strategies to mitigate their influence on our judgment. Congratulations! We've reached the final stage of our journey into the world of conspiracy theories. We've dissected claims, scrutinized sources, analyzed logic, examined evidence, and explored alternative explanations. Now, it's time to weigh the evidence objectively and reach a conclusion. Based on the information gathered, does the theory hold up to scrutiny, or does it crumble under the weight of its own inconsistencies and lack of evidence? Consider the wider consensus. Does the theory contradict established scientific knowledge, historical accounts, or the expertise of professionals in relevant fields? Remember, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If, after careful analysis, the theory lacks credible evidence, relies on logical fallacies, and contradicts established knowledge, it's safe to conclude that the theory is likely false. And there you have it, folks. We've journeyed through the intricate world of conspiracy theories, equipping ourselves with the tools to critically analyze these captivating narratives. Remember, skepticism is not about disbelieving everything, but about approaching information with a discerning eye and a commitment to evidence-based reasoning. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos where we'll break down each of these steps in detail, providing even more tools and techniques to navigate the often murky waters of online information. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop questioning the world around you.